You did what you were told. You worked hard. You stayed employed. You didn't do anything reckless. You didn't chase shortcuts. You didn't hack the system. You assumed the system still existed. And somehow, it still doesn't feel safe. That isn't confusion. It's the moment you realize the rules changed after you already agreed to play. Part 1. The Old Deal. There used to be a deal. It was simple. Work consistently, avoid obvious mistakes, save what you can. You wouldn't get rich, but you'd be okay. Not impressive, just stable. Stable meant boring in a good way. Bills paid, plans made, a future that didn't require creativity. That deal worked long enough to feel permanent, long enough to stop questioning it. You saw it work for people around you, people who didn't optimize, people who didn't brand themselves, people whose biggest financial strategy was showing up on time. So you planned around it. You built a life that assumed it would hold. Then it stopped, quietly. No apology, no explanation. Part 2. Nothing collapsed. Nothing dramatic happened. No crash you could point to. No villain you could blame. Prices rose, paychecks didn't. Fees multiplied. Risk got outsourced to you. What used to be absorbed by systems started landing on individuals. Volatility didn't disappear, it just changed addresses. Suddenly, stability required vigilance. You had to watch everything. Bills, rates, renewals, deadlines you don't remember agreeing to. Nothing screamed emergency. That was the trick. Everything stayed just manageable enough to keep you from calling it a problem. You were told this was resilience, flexibility, being an adult. But really, it was exposure wearing a motivational poster. Things didn't break. They thinned, like ice that still holds until it doesn't. You didn't fail. The gap widened between effort and outcome, and you were expected to pretend that was normal. Part 3. Why it feels personal. Here's the part that really messes with people. When money stops working the way it used to, it feels like a personal flaw. Because systems don't announce changes, they let you internalize them. Guilt is convenient. It keeps everything clean. If it's your fault, nothing else has to explain itself. So you replay decisions. You audit your past. You wonder if you missed a class everyone else somehow took. You're encouraged to self-diagnose, budget harder, optimize more, stay positive, learn one more skill again. There's always another lever you're supposed to pull, another adjustment that would have worked 5 years earlier. But most of what changed wasn't in your control. Housing didn't get expensive because you hesitated. Healthcare didn't get fragile because you miscalculated. The math moved. You didn't. And that mismatch feels like guilt. Part 4. The new pressure. This is why doing fine feels unstable now. You're not broke, you're just not buffered. You're one surprise away from needing a workaround. One bill away from needing creativity. That's the exhausting part. Creativity used to be optional. Now it's required just to stand still. You don't feel poor, you feel alert. Like you can't quite relax because relaxing costs something now. Even rest has conditions. Even fine has prerequisites. And the math doesn't care how reasonable your choices were. It doesn't reward patience. It doesn't remember effort. It only asks, what clears this cycle? Part 5. What actually changed? Money didn't become harder. It became tighter, less patient, less sentimental. It stopped rewarding consistency and started rewarding position. Early matters. Scale matters. Being slightly ahead matters a lot. That isn't a moral statement, it's a structural one. If this feels unsettling, it's not because you messed up. It's because the rules shifted without announcing themselves. Nothing is broken. You're just not the beneficiary anymore. That's the new math.